All right.
Rolling, rolling, rolling.
Hopefully that will go straight to YouTube. Yeah, it's being live streamed. So, hi everybody. Just waiting for Facebook to kick in. There we go. So, welcome back to the Self Help Bookshelf. Thank you for joining us once again. And today, we on the High Leverage Actions podcast are going to do something just a little bit different for you. We like it when things are a little bit different, don't we, Rory?
Oh yes. Actually,
So,
I could talk this way round if you wanted.
oh, there we go. That's how big. No, you're right. I would never ask you to do that. I wouldn't be rude enough. Um, but no, we are going to talk today about Rory's book launch because Rory has just released NeuroCreative Recollections, The Pros and Cons of Intentional Brain Bending Brilliance, Volume 2. Yay! Congratulations, Rory.
Yay. Thank
And
you.
Volume 1 here. Oops, it's up there as well. So this was number 1 that Rory launched back in February this year, was released on the 30th of November last year. And on the 30th of November this year, Volume 2 is out. So honestly, congratulations on getting your second book out within the year. That is phenomenal. And so much consistency with the books it clearly is a volume 1 and 2. There's no doubt about that with them. There we go. Look at that, 1 and 2. Apart from yours is the sample version, so you won't get the banding across it when you buy it on Amazon. And that's the thing, it is for sale on Amazon. And so we're going to use Rory's book launch to inspire this week's topic. And it is all going to be about the NeuroCreative Recollections. And now I don't have volume 2 in paperback, but what I do have is, if I can get back into my phone, I have it here on Kindle. So I'm going to read and swipe and read some bits out of here from Kindle and inspire Rory to talk to us about each of these little pages. But before we do that, because we'll come back to the fun bits, let's save the fun bit for a few minutes' time. And one of the stories I would like Rory to share with you today is why he wrote this book in the first place, or these books, these amazing books, and how this can be an incredible inspiration for anybody out there who's living with neurodiversity, especially if it's autism, nonverbal autism, and if you are parenting children or teens and young adults with neurodiversity and it's creating a tremendous amount of life challenges for them. Listen to this story because there is always hope with nurture and all the right intentions in place and love and care. We're about to show you what's possible. So, Rory, tell us what happened in your life to lead to you writing a book about neurocreative recollections.
It's it's I hope this is an example with my face going up like this and looking, just going, "Oh, where do I have to keep grabbing on to where do I even start with it? Because the name is one thing, the visuals are another, the story is another, the background story is one part of it, the essence of the all the words and the way they're written is another part of my life. It's like all these different and exactly the same as what potentially many neurodiverse or neurodivergent people may say is that they find it difficult to latch on to one
Okay.
idea straight away. And so, and actually, I'm also wanted to share around what you shared about the autism and the and the ADHD and how I self-identify with those because I've done so many interviews with people and research and my own theories that what I find in my life is that I have ideas and then they sort of seem to like be eventually caught up in reality. Like it's often, sometimes it's been 20 years later, there's been research. It's like finally, oh my gosh, finally the people are getting around to this because it's like it's almost like a concept in one place is made up of all these other concepts. Like you take the word um chill out and relax, and then in the 90s it became chillax. You've got one word that means a concept of two or multiple variables, and so any idea and any metaphor is is all of that too. So the reason why I'm saying all of that is because that's how my brain was working. I couldn't necessarily work out how to describe that, and those autistic and ADHD traits could be masking as dyslexia as well. So my point being is that I've only got a qualification in dyslexia. Um, I've got the
Diagnosed that
piece of paper
you.
to prove it. I did the test and I got it done. But that was at 33 years old. And before that, leading back to before that, it was really frustration in not I didn't even know I needed to test. I just thought, well, what's the point of that anyway?
Mm.
And so I just thought I knew who I was because of experiences and people I'd met and who I attracted to hang out with, and um the reports back from in school, and just how I was raised in a lot of ways, which was to be able to be creative in whatever way I wanted. But that doesn't, it's just because, we've all, it comes back down to, always comes back down to mental fitness philosophies in the terms of no matter where we're brought up or what we're brought up, we have a human psyche that has picked up all this stuff from the history, human history, and through media, through every single messaging in the whole entire existence up until now is fed into our subconscious, and then we have to be a person with a particular way of being, and we notice our innate personalities, and maybe if we really look at ourselves, we'll notice what we've picked up as a personality trait that isn't us. But the reason why I'm saying all that is that before I was fascinated in being able to express myself with words. It was with music, it was playing, it was dancing, it was non-verbal communication in lots of multisensory and lots of language in conversations that I couldn't keep up with at the time. And back before then, when I did was able to express myself with writing, it was like at school, I'd get really good results with the coursework, English literature. B in English literature at GCSE level at school, but English language was 1% higher than a U, 1% lower than 1% higher than a U. I got a G or an F or something. A G. That was it. I got a G in the mock English language exam, and and basically I knew I didn't get any better at it.
Mm.
But it was 50% coursework. I took it up to a D, which is only one grade lower than a pass. And all of this stuff, I just immediately, continually had resentment that I knew stuff, I understood stuff, and I just had to let go of this automatic. And I don't have a problem with really pretty much any system in place, because there's always a reason why there's a system in place to protect, to serve, protect, but it only serves the general, and it actually doesn't really serve any one individual. And so my point being with that is that, road safety is one thing, ways of doing things or the way we should be in competition with each other to do business is just another, it's not correct. It's not exact. It doesn't work for everyone. And so that's sensitive, supportive types that don't necessarily communicate so well, but could learn to. And that's the bit where we're talking about the hope moving in, with the hope with the changing. We can go into that in more detail, but really just the sense of frustration, thinking I was more artistic and unable to communicate, or wasn't an assertive person, and I resented that people that could be assertive could start businesses, and then I started to associate that people that were pushy and more narcissistic are linked to corporations, and corporations are linked to unfairness in wealth, care, and wealth, and and so on and so on. And then that's just becomes ingrained to the point of deep frustration against, like, why do artists have to struggle in life? And so all of those stories went along in the background. So I just kept on writing in the background, writing all my ideas down. And I mean, in these books, there's literally these are the things that relate to sort of mental and emotional wellness. I've got loads more stuff that is just nonsensical in some ways, only to me, or comical, or stuff that just doesn't really need to be. It doesn't. I don't have a need to share that, and that's the key point here, is that it comes down to, like, an artist can be an artist for themselves, to self-express and get stuff out there, which I love, helping people with just getting into creative flow with their stuff. But also, do you want to turn it into a business? And then it becomes the communicative piece, that becomes the collaborative piece, that becomes the piece where it actually becomes easy when we realize we don't have to try to make this big thing first. We just need to have conversations with people, and just stick to conversations with people, and get words that they use, and find out what they want and how to bring that creativity to those people, whether it's a project, an album, or artwork, or being a coach, or any kind of creation that wants to be bought by someone or used by someone, has to be a conversation. So solitary work can be changed, and collaborative work can be worked on. And very simply, without all of those stories blocking us from, and that's where I come back around to the last piece on that, is that we're not, it's not that I don't have a problem with systems in place, it's that there's no information on how to use it well or not well, for different ways of doing that. So, like, health is like, it's a massive topic, and I'm fascinated in it, because when we look after health, then we can get everything else out there. So health, and what actually health means, and how to look after it, is multifactorial and explorative, rather than, and all those factors involved in that process, rather than just saying, go and speak to this person, and then if you've got a symptom, this is the only way to do something about it. So it's not that I have a problem with doctors, or systems, or corporations. It's just that there's no information on how to do it a different way, or the way that in which supports heart-centered creatives, compassionate creatives, neurodiverse beings. So there we go.
Thank you. So if you understand from that why Rory chose to write a book and what his background challenges were, well done. That was a lot, Rory. That was a lot. But yeah, there, honestly, when it comes to your experience in life, and you probably gather from that, Rory growing up with the dyslexia, the autism, ADHD, and other challenges that go along with it, because the list doesn't end there. And we've discovered this, and Sue and Rory did a joint book launch last night. And I've also had conversations with my son as well this year, that even after 30 years of supporting him, I'm still learning more about the challenges he faces, and he's learning more about himself as well. So what we're realizing is, where you mentioned about your qualification, or as what you call your diagnosis, I remember we did that episode. Do you remember we did an two-part episode about neurodiversity and labels, and about whether or not you need that diagnosis, or whether it's more about the understanding, about not being afraid of the labels from a perspective of being judged, but from being able to comprehend the challenges that you're facing, and being able to face life with more awareness and understanding of how to work over those challenges, and how to accept those parts of yourself that are strengths, how to delegate out the parts that are weaknesses, and work in cooperation with other people. So we've done some really great episodes on that on this podcast in the past. But out of all of that, what was the part somewhere in there that inspired you to turn all of that lived experience and personal development training and notes that you'd written, and the other training you'd done with the osteopathy and the health, what inspired you to go, let's put it in a book?
Yeah. It was really two elements. One piece was, uh it was that I realized I had just got all this stuff hanging about. So much of it being doing the mental fitness trainings to the point where I could then do the leadership trainings. So then there I could actually put myself out there and actually find people that wanted coaching and onboard them with clarity. That all took 3 or 4 years of training. Um, there was the coaching part. When I wanted to be a coach, I thought, oh, it's just about taking my knowledge and helping someone to learn it and do it. And that's like traditional sort of like tennis coaching, you know, but it's all about I didn't realize how much of psychology would start to take to learn about and all the skills of actual what I love about coaching. It was like as I decided to do it, I realized it was the answer to what I wanted to do at the same time. But then I just went, oh, now there's like learning how to be a coach. What type of coaching? I didn't think what type of coaching I wanted to do beyond still wanting to help people. I just didn't know just who it was I could help. So that journey of coaching, learning about marketing to put it out there, and learning which part of a business model that I sit in, that someone sits in, rather than trying to do all these different things. And writing a book is part of a business model in a lot of ways. It's in some ways rather than just a self-expression piece. And so, uh, but yeah, so it's like at that point where I studied the actual skills, how to do it, what to do, who to help, marketing, this business studies, as it were, of how to do that. Then once I was learning all of that, then the mental fitness training to actually stop all of the fear of changing my identity into someone that could do that. And then the leadership training to be able to put it into action as well. And so once I got through to that point, only then it was like, oh yeah, I my ideas, I'm the way I could do it to get it out there, to put content out there or to speak and have a voice was to go monologue either into my Facebook group or online some way or write a piece of content that had an idea of one thing and put it out there. And as I was doing that, I started to realize, oh, there's all these ideas. I'll start compiling them, and I started compiling them as just general quotes because I thought these might be useful at some point. I wasn't thinking about it being a book. And from the start of 2021, by the end of 2021, it got to 2022. By the end of 2022, I realized, oh, I could potentially do a book. But I wanted to write a full book, and I thought, well, actually, and then basically I met you, Kay, and that's when you said, "Hey, why didn't you do a book?" And I was like, I don't know whether I want to do a book or I'm ready because it's a business model that I do understand, but I don't think I want to do it in that way, and I wouldn't want to do it in that way because I'm a bit, artistic and nonconformist at the same time. So I was like, I'm only going to do this if it makes sense to do it. So, but then you said it's going to be simple and easy. You can start doing it, and I just thought I'm either going to go down a rabbit hole and not be able to manage anything else, or I'm going to do it the way I would want to and not think about trying to do it any sort of conforming way. And then I just thought, what would I want to see in a fun book?
Yeah.
So I started doing that, and then I realized, wow, this is not just a fun book. This is like everything that is representative of me as well. So I just thought I'd get it done, and then I just went do it, and I did it. So that's what happened.
Wow, amazing. And it's beautiful because the first one I have got in paperback. Rory's lots of creativity has gone into things like creating these, what did you call them? Interlude pages. It's just all the graphics that exist in the book put onto one page and called it an interlude. So it's like having a break between the writing and the book itself. So some pages are like this, double spreads. There's slightly longer prose on them. And other pages are much simpler, shorter, quotes and phrases, but all the images are Rory's own photography that he's chosen from years of photography as well, and put together to have some kind of meaning. And the idea is when you just read that single phrase or quote or prose and look at the photograph, it should inspire some kind of reflection on something in yourself as well. And I've picked one out of the current book that I've got up here on Kindle, this one. And it says, the tighter you grip, the more things can slip. So what does that one mean, Rory? And I'm just trying to work with, I think it's this one, isn't it? It goes with this image.
Yeah.
Playing cards. The tighter you grip, the more things can slip.
Wow.
So
Okay.
what
Yeah.
inspired that, and what meaning would you hope other people with neurodiversity can take from that as a life lesson and inspire them to not grip onto life so tightly?
Well, yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. That one reminds me of, like, if you try to, like, what would be a good thing?
Bar of soap.
Soap, it might be a bit hard, but something that's like brittle,
Oh
that
yeah.
that's like, because life and people and emotions are all quite um adaptable. They're actually quite fragile. People are fragile, if they haven't done enough training to know that they don't have to be affected by whatever's in front of them. That's the mental fitness training. But basically, one element is that, just like trying to grip something harder and harder and hold on to it. Eventually, life will take it away. It's not nothing stays fixed. So, like, holding on to something, if it's obviously holding on to something and building on something, like building something you want, like making a book, we build on it until it becomes a book. But if the more I grip onto it, the more I'll just ruin I'll squeeze it, and it will just, like, yeah, it will crunch it all up and make it messy. So the idea of, like, that is for those that potentially are more trying to control a situation.
Mine's got a bit like that. Look.
The controlling situation, like, trying to control. Some people get assertive and to try to control other people when, like, for instance, if it's a leadership role in a business, and they're managing other people, and they don't know how to work with people in a way in which is trying to make them do something and stay on target and do this thing, that's gonna make it stressful for the person and the other people. So it's the idea of, it's not that it's gripping onto something is the thing that's difficult, but it's just how much grip or how much trying is there, how much stress is being overwhelmed, or over or tension being held to hold on to something that may just need the opposite, just letting it happen. So that the more grip things will slip out of that grip, because there's only so much space. So that's the idea, and then linking to the card playing. Obviously, it's actually, if I've got all these cards and I try and grip onto them again, if they were more slippy, that it would, if I keep doing it, they're gonna go and fly everywhere.
And you end up with cramp as well. So it's a form of self-injury in a sense when you end up with cramp rather
Yeah.
than holding gently. But no, that's fantastic, Rory. And I think it's really inspiring. And different people might take different messages from this as well. And that's okay. Because to me, when I'm saying bar of soap, it's like if your hands are wet and you're trying to hold soap and you hold it this way, it will stay there forever. But when you hold it like this and try and squeeze it, it can shoot off and you can lose things. And this is a thing, we lose control by holding on tighter. Versus being gentle and nurturing and caring, things stay longer. And the other one I like the analogy of is, and this comes to relationships a lot as well, and friendships and jobs and all kinds of dynamics in society, is when we apply this to the connection between people rather than holding on to someone physically, is trying to have that tight grip emotionally around a relationship has the same effect. The more you try and hold on, the more likely they are to walk away, because it becomes entrapment and entanglement and controlling for the other person. And so they'll see it that they want to free themselves from that and walk away. And another analogy for that I like to use a lot is about a dog. If you've got a dog on a lead, or a dog, and you try to control it, it will want to break free. But a dog that has learned to trust you, where you've nurtured it and cared for it, and you've made sure that the emotional bond is more secure than the control, if the emotional bond is there, you can set that dog free and it won't go anywhere. It will stay because it's loyal to you. And this is where a lot of people seem to think that to keep friends, they've got to like emotionally entrap them and control them, and like, well, you're my friend, you've got to do this, and I've done that for you, and you owe me this and that, and it gets to a point where that person can feel sort of almost strangled in a relationship, whether it is friendships, jobs, you know what bosses can be like with jobs, and all, you know, parenting and children, brothers, sisters. And so the more we let go of all of that and allow ourselves just to be ourselves, and let the other person be them, and not try to control who they are for our benefit, the better those relationships are for everybody. And the more relaxed it is for everybody as well. So I love this one, Rory. It is really, really inspiring for people. But to realize it's not just physical, it is emotional, it is social, and it's all kinds of concepts. Whether you're trying to set up a business, and the other one is trying to do things like we said, processes and strategies. Again, we did an episode on that. I've got to do it this way, and I've got to do it in this fixed order, and I've got to do it a specific way, and I've got to do it the way that person said. And if you're very rigid and fixed, like gripping on to this specific way of doing something, you're not giving yourself that freedom to flow through it, and it becomes very rigid and overwhelming. So very often when we're overwhelmed, stressed, anxious, burnt out, frustrated, depressed, all of this, is what are you holding on to too tightly? And there is always something there that when you can identify it and learn to let go of it that little bit, and take a bit of a step back and observe your interaction with that personal process or object, and then look how you can work through that more freely. I think it covers so many subtopics that come under that one little quote. It's incredible. So no, that's great work, Rory. Great work. Are you ready for another one?
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's see what else I can find. I'll tell you what, this time I'm not going to read the quote. I'm going to show the image, and you tell us why this inspired you to put it in the book. Smiley giraffe. Why is there a giraffe with a paper grin
I
and
just,
brows?
to be honest with you, I just sometimes I just see something that was just like that. And I at friends, I was visiting a friend's of a friend's. Um, it was a yeah, former partner. We were visiting a friend, and they just had that on the sofa. It was just like that, I think. Or maybe there was a bit of changing on the the way it's holding
That's the one,
uh
yeah.
holding its arms. It was just the stance, and I just thought it was chilled out. So I just liked it. So I took it, you know, and then it also reminds me of like having a giraffe. This is the slang for having a laugh. Um, but
Good
on the
one.
other, yeah, on the other side of it, there's the I've chose the quote, mental fitness practice saves the marriage between my mind and my emotions. And
Yeah,
uh and typically whilst passing through and overcoming the physical and sensational challenges of the pandemic and the confusion it's ensued. Um, it's a really, really important quote that came up for me because I didn't realize until I could do the mental fitness training and found out about it and did it year and a half non-stop. It wasn't till after that process I realized how much I I could drop being latched on, the tighter being gripped onto a thought and letting it go with practice. Like, and the great thing about the mental fitness training is it trains you in when this happens, I do the training, not just why the training is important to do all the time. It's actively helping seek out more and more situations to do the practice in and rehearsing those practices. So like with if someone wants to give up a particular habit, it'll either that the pain gets so strong, which is pretty much in all, I'd say, I don't know how many cases. I'm not going to say about stats here, but unless you've done the actual flagship mental fitness training, positive intelligence, or something that may be similar things now, I don't know about because it's been out for a few years. But unless that's actually been gone through, most people will get to a point where the pain of something is so strong that they've been thinking about it and they've already decided they want to give it up, but they keep making themselves wrong, which actually or doing relapsing that thing, and then that makes themselves feel wrong, and then they kind of want to stop it again, and then they stop start, or they that at some point it gets so much to the point where they build into it so they can just go, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just not doing it anymore. And then they start imagining themselves not doing it in all the situations and turning that thing down when they're offered it somewhere else or in as many situations as possible. Just like when they allowed themselves to get excited by doing that thing in all the different situations in the first place, because it's only environment and things that we get addicted to a particular thing. It doesn't have to be physical chemical addiction, it can be psychological as well. We get addicted to things in particular environments and only in those environments. So when we get excited to then I want to do that in this situation and in this situation, and it gets exciting to add more to it, addiction, to add things together to create bonds, to get belief, to become a believing that it is really good, to the point of it being excessive, to becoming detrimental, to the point of it being the complete opposite of what is useful to be doing that thing. Then it's like the pain will get strong enough to do. So the reason I'm coming back round to that is that the mental fitness training is the thing that helps to not wait till that moment happens. So to actually practice it and actually start mentally getting into a mental rehearsal practice of choosing every single day what is wanted to be happening and stick and being able to stick to it. And that's actually possible as well. So that's actually possible to do. And I come back to that thing of once I'd finally done that, I was able to look back and go, that actually saved the marriage between my mind and my emotions, because they were not incongruence, even no matter how much awareness I had of it and how much personal development and how much coaching I'd done or practiced or understood all these things about health and health habits, and I was pretty good at being healthy and doing healthy habits, but my self-judgment was the piece that I hadn't looked at. And that was the bit, there's always a bit that the psyche
Yeah.
will come back to have a go at us or have a go at someone else or blame something here, blame something there. So is that blame feeling awful, or is it blame that comes up and then, oh, I just saw myself assuming, judging, blaming, and I don't have any emotional weight that to anymore because I've done the practice, and it's literally the same as a marriage, because once you get to a point where a marriage starts to break off after all of the negative patterns start to be seen in each other's places and faces, and there's a struggle, there's always a struggle phase, and it's like it will save it once both people get back online with being accepting them and to be able to call each other out with love and with all that stuff, and to be able to notice those patterns without them being like, oh, that's the end of it now.
Mm.
It's actually, oh, no, it's the start of the next thing, start of the next thing. And so that marriage between the mind and the emotions is so, so possible. Yeah.
Yes, because with ourselves, we cannot walk away from ourselves. We can walk away from a lot of other things in life, but ourself will always be there. So you might as well work on that as being the most important relationship in your life. It makes sense. And a lot of people are so conditioned to put their focus on supporting other people, being there for other people, serving other people, nurturing other people, but not themselves. So again, we've done episodes on honestly a number of topics you've talked about there today, Rory. So fantastic. And is there, if anything, is there's any one thing you would like a reader to get from picking up a copy of your book, what would it be? And also just to let people know that if you're watching this in the first week of December 2025, Rory's original NeuroCreative Recollections is on Amazon at 99p. And if you're getting the new one, volume 2, it's on there at 199. Because he can only put one on at 99p on special offers, so on that to go a bit different. That he's got them as low as he can for you, so you can buy all 3 books for under £3 on Kindle this week from today. So fantastic, Rory. Honestly, it's amazing. So what is the one thing you would really like people to experience when they pick up your books? And we'll say a little bit about the paperback and Kindle difference as well.
Yeah. It's a nice question to think. I think it would just be that it's a reminder that you can the that self practice is essential and creativity for mental health is essential and self expression is essential and collaborative work is essential. So yes, okay, you could say, hey, I've deliberately owned my own phrases. I've owned them, and I've said, I've spoken from when it's from my perspective. I've said me, I in the quotes, and sometimes it's just holy shift, Bratman, holy shift, Bratman. Yeah. So it's just like it can be. Yes, things are struggles. There's times when that transition and things get difficult and painful, or there's struggle. But to know that it can be worked on, it can get better, and it can become like the giraffe. You know, the mind can become a bit like the giraffe, or just be okay with challenges and not have that emotional weight. So the one thing would be to know that creativity is there to be owned and to also be shared. And it's that solitary work and that collaborative piece. And then we can, and if anyone sees the book and is reminded of that, then they can go, hey, am I doing all right? Oh yes, I'm doing all right. Oh yeah, can I put something out there? Can I put something out there for myself or for others? Have I forgotten to do that? And or do I need help with that? Because that's again something that I love to help people with, get their projects out there without the procrastination, without the struggle, without the challenge, and make it a continual ripple effect that no one else is, again, no system is going to tell us for us what we want and what's wholesome and what's creatable um for ourselves individually at this point, because the system is meant to be for more people neurotypical at this time. So so therefore therefore that just that last piece is that because it's not there to do. If we could just assume that it's not there to do it, but we don't have to do it on our own. So that's what I mean, is that we can work together to make things better for and make the system better by just going, this is also part of the system, let's do that too.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think it's important to highlight there that although your book is quotes and phrases and poems which are short, this is very different than the work you're saying you help people with, which is far more comprehensive, because Rory's framework is very, very tailored. It's I can't think of the right word in this moment, but it's genius. I mean, I've been on some of Rory's training, and he has really taken this whole process of understanding the self through mental fitness and through practices, and it's like thoughts, feelings, emotions, taking actions, taking breaks, movement, everything all together. Like if you're trying to set up a business and you're neurodivergent and you are stuck and scattered and procrastinating, but you know what you want to create, Rory's training really takes you through this process of being able to manage your energy levels mentally and physically to create consistent outcome. And it definitely has made a difference for me, because I was frequently burning out and getting small amounts of accomplishment done. And in this last year, my business has come forward so far because of the practices that I've learned from Rory. So it is definitely, definitely well worth looking at. When, you know, if you want to know when one of Rory's next events is on one of his workshops, or just want to have a chat and a one-to-one with him, pop a message in the chat here, or follow his, we'll put your Linktree link in, and just get in touch with Rory however you can, because if you want to get in touch with him, you'll find a way, right? We're all neurodivergent. When we're neurodivergent, we're creative. When we're creative, we find a way. So if you want to speak to Rory, you find a way to speak to him, because he has some phenomenal framework attributes that, you know, he's created his own framework for this whole process of thoughts, feelings, beliefs, work, rest, everything, and how to understand yourself in that, understanding all of your sabotages and just little snippets of when you get to this point and this is happening, here's a couple of ideas to try, and generally you do one of those and it works, and then the next stage and the next stage, and it's just the whole framework is incredible. And he has put so much work into creating that. And even this last year, I've still seen you still finishing developing that while setting up the business yourself, while supporting other people in their projects, while you're still setting up yours. And it's proof of what is possible. And on top of that, when we're talking to you, if you are a parent with a non-verbal autistic child, or a child with ADHD or with dyslexia, and they're struggling with school and their grades, and you're thinking, oh my God, there's no life ahead for them, you've got a head start now with the knowledge that we've got here between us, between Rory and then myself, with the emotional awareness side, right? We've had to deal with these challenges with very little support. Right. My son was autistic spectrum as well. We still, I'm saying was, he is, it's not curable, but what we can do is find ways to still live the best possible life with whatever we have and whatever we were given. And so I've been learning to live with the ADHD, being late diagnosis. I was in my 50s before I found out that I'd got ADHD, after spending well over 20 years supporting my son on the autistic spectrum and developing a way to help him understand emotions. So I know what it's gone in, what it's taken, and the years it's taken to develop the framework. So I understand what Rory's put into his as well. And it is not easy to go from where you were to where you are now for anybody, but to then turn around and go back and help other people with that is phenomenal. And I really want to congratulate you for that, and for your books and all of the other projects that you've been putting out there as well, like music projects, etc. as well. And then turning up to do talks and support and your little mini DJ sessions at the end of other people's events. So you've just been non-stop this last year, and you're still stood there smiling. So it just goes to show what is possible. This is the giraffe in action. Look at him. This is the giraffe in action.
Excellent. Love it. Thank you, Kay.
All
Amazing.
right. Well, thank you for that today, Rory. And so we'll make sure we put all the links in. And I know somebody's watching us live, so unless it's my son who's sitting over here, which I don't think it is, no, he's shaking his head. Thank you to whoever is watching in live today. We are aware you are there. And we really, really appreciate your support. And we will see you all again next week for another High Leverage Actions podcast.
One last thing I'll say is that both of them are 23 at this time, in the psychology of creativity and genius.
Oh, you're 23. Yay. Well done.
Yeah,
Good. Fantastic. And you've still got 6 days to go on the Kindle
yeah,
offer.
yeah,
Oh, that's sick.
yeah.
Yay. There
23.
we go.
Yeah, just thought I'd mention that. So yeah,
Any
it's,
likes, shares, comments, purchases of the Kindle, anything you can do to support Rory after all the tremendous effort he's put in would be fantastic. Let's see if we can get him a bestseller by the time we come back next Monday.
yay,
All
nice
right.
one. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rory. And I will come back and do another one with Sue as well for her book launch. But take care, everybody. See you next week.